Hello, Cynthia.
Hey Jen, how's it going?
Going. It's going good.
Yes. So I want to hear, because we've both gotten this question quite a few times of like, how do you ladies do it all? You're here and you're over there. I had someone like say to me, "You post every day on LinkedIn. How do you do that?" I'm like, "Oh, I forgot about that. I don't even use LinkedIn. I'm trying to do
Oh,
it." Welcome to Marketing Duo Podcast, the podcast where marketing experts Cynthia of Digital Bloom IQ and Jen of Vazquez Media come together to share their wealth of knowledge and insights on scaling your business.
each episode, we are diving into the latest marketing strategies, mindset shifts, and growth tactics specifically designed for ambitious female founders who are tech savvy and eager to enhance their marketing game.
Whether you're looking to fine-tune your approach or discover innovative ways to accelerate your business, the Digital Marketing Duo provides actionable tips and inspiring conversations to help you reach your goals.
Tune in for a blend of practical advice and empowering discussions tailored to help you thrive in an ever-evolving digital landscape. I know it's something that I get asked all the time, and it's something in my business that I think my clients appreciate because I'm very interested in working smarter, not harder. And every single client that I have is time sensitive, right? Whether they have kids or they're running two businesses or whatever the deal is, that even when I'm doing something like a VIP day with Pinterest, the comment that I get all the time is, "Oh my God, you just saved me so many hours." Like that's the one thing after 5 hour day of education. That's the thing that they always, sort of stumble upon, which is why we are going to be talking about it today, because I think that this is something that everybody could use help with. If we could just get a little smarter and plan things out a little better, we will be saving hours each week in our marketing, because marketing is really important for your business.
Yeah, and I think I want to just touch before we get into like the tactical, the tools and all that. I do want to quickly comment on, and I'm sure Jen, you have something to say about this too, is the mindset piece. I think when I was starting my business, I'm always asking like every single day, I'm like, is this valuable to my audience? Like, is this something that's going to really move the needle, even if it's like in this tiny, tiny way, right? But when I was starting my podcast and just everything, wanting to give so much information, especially with SEO, it can be very heavy. And I realized, like, from a mindset point of view, is like you just need to give someone like a tiny, like a 1%, like a crumb, because they don't want the whole cake yet. They're not ready, right? If they want the whole cake, they'll hire you to bake that cake, or they'll hire you, they'll buy your course, but they're not ready to commit to a lot of information. And so once I really got that, I was like, it felt so much easier to create little bits of content or even splice out bits of content, which we'll talk about. And it suddenly I realized the value was in like that little tidbit. And that's enough. It's enough. And that's a huge mindset thing. Cause I think, we want to be valuable to our audience, and we think like more is better, right? That whole thing. So yeah.
Yeah, and I think mindset is huge. Just like when you're going somewhere for the first time in your car and it seems to take forever. And if you go there like every week, pretty soon you're like, "Phew, it's not even that long," right? It's the same when you're trying something new, when you're learning SEO new, or you're learning Pinterest new, or any marketing, or maybe you're new in your business and it's all new. That is
Right.
overwhelming. It's okay to feel a little overwhelmed. We try to like push it off and
Right.
work all hours of the evening and the weekends, and pretty soon we're burned out. So I think mindset is probably the biggest piece of all of this. So I would agree.
Yes. Yes. Yeah, and it's great to like want it. I guess there's always that thing of like, wanting for it to be perfect, or like this perfectionist thing. And it's like it doesn't have to be perfect. It could be you on a walk, using your phone to talk about something that came up during the day, what can you re-record, like Jen said, like maybe you had a conversation with a client, could you, get inspired off that? Okay, so I have a podcast. So let's start there. So my podcast, I've been doing it for a while. I just last week, I've been doing it since 2017.
2016.
So,
I didn't
oh
get
my God.
serious until about 3 years in, but yeah, I feel you.
So I've designed my whole marketing workflow to start with the podcast. What I call it is my source content. So when I teach this in my course and stuff, I call like, what's your source? Is it your Instagram? Is it your blog? Is it your podcast? It can be anything. It doesn't matter. The point is it's your platform where you naturally gravitate to, and it's easy for you to create content. So when you identify that, suddenly, well, for me, it was like, it doesn't matter, about like the other platforms get created from this source. And it doesn't matter if I'm not really passionate about what each of the platforms is about. I can I can pull from the source and make it for that platform. So you need to get the source platform. You need to do that platform well. And you need to basically, it needs to feel natural, fun, like, yeah, not work, or at least something that, like, for example, for podcasting, if some of you are considering, you need to like to talk. Which, like me and Jen,
Unprompted. Yeah,
obviously.
you need to be able to talk for sure. You're not going to read a script or I guess you could, but I wouldn't recommend
You
it.
could. Right. Yeah. So the thing is, like, a lot of people are like, well, how do you create so much content on your podcast? I had a podcast before, before I really could say I was an SEO expert. I had a podcast because I like to talk. I like to express, like, whatever, the human design, I have the throat open or whatever. Like, I just feel like that is something that's easy for me. And maybe for some of you, like, getting on camera, it feels like that's a lot right now. So could it be something more text based, or, yeah, blogging or whatever, right? So I think that for me is like where I would start in terms of my workflow. So once the podcast goes out, and I do have a team now just this year, so long, many years, I did this for myself, editing, putting the podcast up, getting the show notes. Now I have a few people helping me, but basically that podcast becomes a blog or show notes page on my site. And then I make that social media content. So that goes to my Instagram. I have my team take tidbits of that. And then I'll also yeah, put it into a tool that I use called Repurpose, which I know, Jen, you were asking about this last time. So Repurpose is a social media scheduler, basically. And what it does is you can have libraries in there where it will just shuffle through all your different posts, and it will post at the best time of the day for that platform. So I have Recur Post right now for my Facebook page. I used to have it for my Facebook group, but my group is currently kind of paused. I have it for my LinkedIn. And I was kind of playing around with it with Pinterest. But then I stopped. So I have it mostly for those platforms. Um, my podcast becomes a YouTube video as well. And then, because I'm an SEO expert, I'll actually sometimes go back and take a few episodes and make it more of an SEO friendly guide. So let's say I have a 1, 2, 3s of keyword research or keyword guide. And so I have a few different episodes on keywords, like how to research keywords, how to find keywords, how to use keywords. So I'll use several of those episodes to create a guide. So see how it all comes back to this podcast. And I'm not really reinventing the wheel. Sometimes I will be inspired to just post something on Instagram, but it's when I have that
Mhm.
energy and that creative inspiration. It's not like every day I just have something coming out from a previous episode or something I've already scheduled out. And then the last thing I want to add is that each of those episodes does also turn into an email newsletter. Those go out sort of when the episodes go live. I used to be pretty like everything needs to be synced. But now I'm a little more relaxed. And I'm like, okay, as long as it goes out within like, the next few weeks, and then because the thing is right now, sometimes I have launches, so it's not like so linear. Um, but yeah, I love my workflow and it feels easy. And again, I have a team backing me up. So I'd probably would, I'd need a few more hours if I was doing it alone at this
Yeah.
point. Yeah.
Uh, so we're pretty similar. And we haven't talked about this. So
Ah,
this is kind of exciting. So I call it my core content. So I always tell people you have to have a core piece of content. That could be a blog, it could be
mhm.
a YouTube video, and it could be a podcast. Mine is my video. That's my core piece of content. So it starts there. From the video transcript, I create a blog. From the video transcript, I create a podcast. This is all sort of in the system. I do have a team that also helps me with this, but there are times when I do it all myself. Um, and I want to
Of
pause for
course.
a second because I think the most important thing that we haven't talked about yet, and I truly believe when it comes to content that it's the most important, is consistency. And I hate to say it because everyone hates to hear it, but like I have a video every single week. I was throwing up, I made a video. Like it doesn't matter what's going on. Now I've gotten
Yeah.
smart and I'm like 3 videos ahead. So if I have a week where I'm not
Yeah.
feeling it, I don't have to do it. But it is
Right.
it is besides client work,
Non-negotiable.
it is a non-negotiable. Right?
Yeah.
Client work
Yeah.
always comes
Yeah.
first, but if we're not doing our marketing, we're not going to be getting more clients. I'm just going to put that out there. So I start with my video, becomes a podcast, becomes a blog. It usually becomes 3 to 5 different social media posts. I just use ChatGPT. I don't have a fancy thing that I will now be looking into, that Repurpose thing. I'm going to be looking into that. In fact, you need to make sure you have an affiliate link, and we'll share that with you guys in the show notes. I will be
Yes,
using it.
absolutely.
But
I'll
yeah,
share all the
yeah.
tools.
But my team will take with social media and take the content and create 3 to 5 different social media posts. I will also each week take 1 or 2 Instagram, create Instagram or highlight reels, whatever people want to call it. Short
Yeah.
form video, basically under a minute, is kind of what I try to do. And then those go out the week that, so my video and podcast gets launched on Sundays. My blog is on Saturdays. So it's already ready to go for all of that. And then my social media posts go out during that week typically. But I still have some from like 2 months ago that I didn't happen to share, and I'll be sharing them even though it's that far removed because it's all my content, right? Um,
Yeah.
and I use Tailwind for Pinterest. So in my process, when I'm writing that blog, I create 5 Pinterest pins at the bottom of every single blog so that I have people can save it directly from the blog, and they do, which gives us
Yeah.
more saves for Pinterest. But it also gives some interest to the blog post. And I think it's really important, and not a lot of my clients ever did this before we talked, is to put a call to action in the middle of every single blog. Not at the end, because so many people don't make it to the end of the blog. Put it in the middle
Yeah.
and make sure that the content you're sharing, obviously we want to share lead magnets to get people on our email list, all the things, but put it in
Yeah.
the middle, you guys. Make it even a different color so it kind of stands out from the blog. I can't tell you how many people I've grown my email list with just by making that little change. And then on Sundays, also, I send out an abbreviated version of whatever that blog post is, but I also
Yeah.
connect it to personal life. So over the last month, I am trying to do analogies about mom life and marketing. And I have gotten so
Ah,
many comments from people or replying saying, "Oh my gosh, that's exactly what I think," or "Yes, that's exactly how I feel." And I'm like, when you get a reply from your email list, it's gold. Like what they're saying,
it is.
it took
Yeah.
them a lot to reply. Most people don't reply to a weekly email. So take that into
Totally.
account and put that in your little toolbox for marketing, because chances are, if it really worked, um, then you want to do it again. And because it's been working so consistently, it's now my standard. I will find some way to have an analogy, and I will use ChatGPT to help me when I'm not creative. So, yeah.
Yeah. Are you writing those weekly, or are you writing those like when you write your blog with the video?
Um, Usually, from the video transcript when I'm creating the blog, I use AI to
Yeah.
help me with the meta description, with the keywords, with the
Mhm.
um, 5 Pinterest pin titles and
Mhm.
descriptions. I do all of it, so
Yeah.
it's all on my blog in my content,
Yeah.
area in Google Docs,
Mhm.
because my team uses that for everything else that they're doing. So, yes, I do
Totally.
it at that time. I create the email at that time. I do
Mm.
all the things. I do add more personal touches before I actually send
Yeah.
it. I will say that.
Yeah. Yeah. So your team like leaves it in
Yeah.
draft, maybe. I'm thinking about doing that because I've had my VA, my
Yeah.
team, just kind of. I'm slowly getting her to help me with the newsletter. But I like this idea of, because I've been doing that with the Instagram too. Is like my team will draft it, but then I'm the one who actually goes in and does that, because it takes me
And
2 seconds to add like a
yes,
personal
and
touch.
maybe I want to share about Creative Marketing Summit at this point
Yeah,
instead of whatever's on deck. I want the control on
yeah,
timing. Just like
yeah,
today's an election in the United States when we're filming this, and I'm not probably going to be posting very much like businessy stuff, just more personal stuff,
right,
because everyone's
right.
head is in a different place today.
Totally. You need to have that
Yeah.
sensitivity. And I think I think that's a lot like what I've heard. A lot of the fears with the delegation or the team is that I'm going to lose control. And yeah, I mean that's the whole point,
Yeah.
but you still get to choose in which parts of the process you get to hand it off and which parts you want to, like, you need to be really involved. Unless you eventually, I don't know, eventually I see myself like Digital Bloom IQ having its own marketing
Yes.
team. And so I'm actually kind of,
CEO.
I'm
You're
like,
CEO.
yeah,
That's a different
yes,
position.
exactly. So I have a different, yeah, exactly, a different role. We're not
No.
there yet, but yeah, that's really interesting. Okay. So I want to hear about tools, because this is, I get asked, everybody is obsessed with the tools. What tools do you use, Jen? I know I mentioned
Should we
Repurpose, but
pause right now since it's 17 and do the sponsor?
oh
Okay.
yeah,
Okay, so go ahead and just say, "Hey, well, you mentioned Creative Marketing Summit, blah blah blah."
yeah. So Jen, you mentioned Creative Marketing Summit. Tell
I
me
am
more.
so excited. So I've been obsessed. I think it started like 5 years ago that I really truly wanted to create a free education, free virtual summit that everyone can come to, because marketing is so integral to actually getting clients and growing your business. So this in 2025 in February is our third annual Creative Marketing Summit, and Cynthia is a speaker like she was before. It's free. Like, that's the thing I just want to get out there ahead of time. It's free. It's all things marketing. You're going to learn how to find, attract, and book your ideal client in the most effective way. It is for all service providers who are wanting to market their business and book more clients. Specifically, it's for creative businesses, which includes but is not limited to course creators, wedding pros, designers, social media marketers, photographers, and many more. So we and it's no fluff, actionable content. That's the biggest thing that I love about
I love that. So good. All right.
So now we're going
So
to
should
get
we
back to what you
continue?
just said about tools. Yes.
Okay. Cool. So I know a lot of people are obsessed with the tools, and I get it. I'm a tool junkie too. But I want to remind you that the tool is a tool and it's not you. Even something like ChatGPT is a tool. It cannot replace you, your voice, your thoughts, your experience, your special way of like telling a joke or whatever, right? And it can tell jokes. But yeah, I'd love to hear, Jen, like inside this workflow, what is your tool set, your
Yeah.
tools?
So Canva is big for all of the repurposing
Mm,
to create other
yes.
content, to create the pins, all the things. Canva is big. I do use Canva Pro because I want to use the pro images because they're less seen
Mhm,
than the regular
mhm.
free ones. And I also like
Yeah.
to do all the things that you can only do as a pro. So that's one. What's
Yeah.
one for you?
I also use Canva quite a bit. I like Canva. I just want to pause with Canva. What I use a lot with my team is the templates. So I'll have my,
Your
my
brand
template for my
templates.
podcast.
Yes.
My brand template, yeah. So my team, they only what they have to do, like they don't have to be a designer at all. They just duplicate and then just swap out titles, and then I have different templates so they don't all look the same. So that's like a game changer. Because again, I want to clarify because
You're right.
I think for you and me, it's like these things we've been doing it for a while and they just feel like automatic. But for someone, even if you've been on Canva for a while, maybe you're like, oh, I didn't know I could do that, or like you just have this mindset thing of like I have to hire a whole graphic designer, and like it's like no, you just need someone who can click a few buttons and like they know how to type on a computer, and then they can just swap out your title. Or if you're doing it for yourself too, right? It shouldn't take you very long. And now on Canva, I don't use this feature, but you can upload videos, you can upload audios. Like I have created reels with Canva. I ended up, doing it a different way, but you could potentially do your reels on Canva too.
Yeah. What's another tool that you use?
Okay, so I'd say for the podcast, my favorite tool is Riverside. So what this does is I have a recording studio. I know Jen, you have another one, which I'm sure you'll bring up now. So I can record my podcast in Riverside. It will do all the fancy noise reduction, blah blah blah. It will do the captions for the videos later, and then it will. Honestly, the best part is the transcript and kind of the. It will do the show notes. So it'll give me key takeaways, the chapters, the different topics that were discussed, and that is what I copy and paste into a Google Doc. I like just read it over just to make sure it's not making stuff up, and then that's what gets like uploaded, and that's pretty much it. And it's just so magical, it's so easy. And then it will also do those magic clips, which are just like the reels. So it'll take snippets of my podcast episode, whether it has video or it doesn't, and it will do the caption. So it's a pretty great tool. There's a few of them out there, but
Yeah.
I'm really enjoying the Riverside.
I have Descript for my editing. And when you pay for Descript, even the lower level plan, which is I think like $15, you get squadcast.fm for free. And so Squadcast is it records two separate videos, two separate audios, so you can kind of control it a little bit more. And
Yeah,
it's free when you're already using Descript, which to me is like bonus.
awesome. Yeah.
I also use ChatGPT and Google Gemini. So I switch between them a lot. I like ChatGPT because it really knows me well, not just because I've been using it since it first literally came out. I started 2 days after it was released, but also Google Gemini is by Google. Google owns YouTube. Google owns Google. Like it to me,
Yeah.
I feel like it's going to give me better SEO content. So I
Hmm.
usually create it in ChatGPT and then I put it into Google Gemini and ask it to, adjust this or adjust that or whatever, include SEO stuff, whatever I'm doing. And then that way I feel like I get something that's not just AI, it's multiple
Yeah.
AIs. And then I go in behind and tweak it.
Okay. I love it. Yeah, 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 yeah. Another tool that I really like. Well, I use so for Pinterest, you use
Tailwind. Woo! And they have a
Tailwind.
free plan. I will, of course, link that below.
What do you use for your social media, like for the scheduling, or do
So
you not use any
Tailwind can
scheduler?
schedule to Facebook and Instagram. I am, and I don't like Meta, but I have been using Meta and it could all be in my head. So this is not a marketing advice, but it feels like it gets better reach when I use Meta than if I even upload it directly to Instagram. I don't know if
Interesting.
that's the case, um, but
It might be.
it is it is what it is. Another tool that I like that
Yeah.
I always forget to say is Big View. Um, Big
Mm.
view is the ability to have a teleprompter on your camera. So each week I go over Pinterest trends. And so because it's a bunch of data, and I won't have that memorized, and I'm not going to put the camera down every
Yeah.
5 seconds. So I just read off the teleprompter to be able to read what I want to say. And that is so much more polished instead of recording like 7 to 10 times because I forget something or I didn't add whatever I wanted to add. It's a one and done situation. So I love that. I think it's about $50 a year or something, but it's a lower cost, or at least it was. These prices have gone up. So
So do you take like the news articles you want to talk about and then ask ChatGPT to create a
no, I get the trends from directly from Pinterest. So they have
and then you just
trends.pinterest.com. I
that's
take
what
those
the tele
trends and then each week I talk about what's trending now. And my clients love it because they're always wanting content. And here's the content that's
yeah,
going crazy because chances are, if it's trending on Pinterest, it will be trending on Google if it's not
yeah,
already. Like Pinterest is
yeah,
ahead of
yeah.
the curve in terms of trends, because it's
Mm,
what people are
interesting.
searching for.
Yeah,
So yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, so I use one called Captions, which also has that ability to do a
Wow.
teleprompter, but then I'll also do captions, which I know like Instagram, the reel will do a caption, TikTok will also. But I like it because you can do those kooky captions, like where the text is. And sometimes you just need to grab people's attention, like, especially if I'm talking about something kind of boring with SEO. If I can have like a bright caption that has, you know, gifs going off or videos, like people are like, oh, like what's going on, it's just how it works these
Yeah,
days. You got to kind of
I
be
use
like with
I
your
use
flag.
Descript for that. So Descript has the captions. It's got video that you can put in. So if I'm saying something funny, I could
Mhm.
put someone else in there doing something funny. You know what
Right.
I mean? To keep people. It's all about keeping
Yeah.
people's
Engage.
attention, right?
Yeah, totally. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And then what's that other one
Oh, we
that you
covered so
called
many.
recur?
Recur post. So that's the one that's like the scheduler, but it's not. I think you can use it like so I was going to say for Instagram, I use one called Planoli because it lets you like visualize the feed. So I do have two and I don't use, I'm like been looking at like, should I use Instagram with Repurpost? But I like Instagram after podcast. I would say Instagram is like my
Yes,
my source platform, like the one I keep an eye on. So Planoli lets me automatically schedule things out, which I really like. Like I can just let it go out. Like I can have a whole launch plan. It'll just,
do it all for you. Yeah,
have things go out. But yeah, Recur Post is, I have it just to keep my other platforms alive,
yeah.
and just keep them kind of
And
fresh. I'm curious with threads, like, have you been doing manual posts or are you using any of these? Because so far, I think you can't plug in any tools
no
yet.
tools that I'm aware of. And I think that's why
Yeah.
everyone really likes it because it is
Yeah.
real, it's not scheduled out. And most
Yeah.
people are talking about the excitement of running a business or the frustrations with running a business or like really silly things that happened in a day. I feel like Threads is more real social, where
Mm,
Instagram's
yeah.
polished, right? Um,
Yes. Interesting how it's
yeah.
changed, right? Because I would say
But I
Instagram
think
was
it's
more.
really important too that we touch on every business should have a search marketing platform and a social media marketing
Mm,
platform. I think it's really
yeah.
important. Search marketing platforms are Pinterest, YouTube, and your blogs on Google, right? And then there's
Right.
social. And so my big one is YouTube and Pinterest, obviously, and then Instagram. But one thing I will say is that 99% of the time, if someone finds you anywhere, and they might be interested in working with you. They go to Instagram to see how you speak, how you educate, what you offer, actionable
Yeah.
advice, helpful advice, right? Not
Yeah.
just being on social media, but actually helping businesses. And so many
Yeah.
people will find me on YouTube or they'll find me on Pinterest or my blog. And when they actually reach out, they'll reach out to me on Instagram, not following me, which blows my mind, right? People are
So
stalking you. I'm
fascinating.
just
Yeah.
telling you. 9 times out of 10, they'll say, when you ask the question, where did you find me? They'll say Instagram, because that's the last place they
Mhm.
were when they made the decision to connect with you.
Yeah.
So you really want to
Yeah.
ask a second clarifying question always in a consultation. So I hear you found me on Instagram. Did you find me with a hashtag? Because we want to know that. Or were you referred to me so we can thank that person? Like, you need to ask that, because when I started doing that in 2021, I went back to my old clients in 2020 and found out where I thought 80% of my clients came from Instagram. It was actually 70% of my clients came from Pinterest or my blog, and only 20% came actually found me on Instagram. That's
Yeah, that first touch,
best.
right? Like we need to classify because all these channels have different purposes. Like my analogy of that is like a sports team. Pick whatever sport you want. I mean, it has to be a
Yeah.
group sport. If it's a solo one, it doesn't
49ers.
work with the analogy.
49ers. We'll just
So like not all the players are going to make points or goals whatever the sport is, right? So that doesn't mean the other players suck. Like what are you going to just like the one player or the two whatever? Like I'm thinking,
yes.
basketball. So what does that mean? Like in your marketing, like you have some players that attract but then they don't actually lead to the sale, right? You have other players that help with the relationship, with the know like trust
Yeah.
factor. Again, they're contributing, they're assisting, right? If we're
Mhm.
kind of going into that sports analogy, but they're not actually doing
Heavy
the
lifting.
game point, whatever the final
Yes.
goal. And then you've got that goal player, but those ones are very specific. They're not good at attracting, right?
Correct.
So all these different marketing platforms, this question, and I'm curious your thought. Like, I think a lot of us get overwhelmed by all the options right now. The point is that they're serving different purposes and meeting us, like meeting our audience in different parts of their journey. And but that doesn't mean they all have to be unique, right? They may be unique to each platform. There's like slight nuance, but you can actually use the same content
Yeah. And
throughout.
I would say too, pick your main platforms, right? So like
Yeah.
my focus is YouTube and Pinterest, right? And my
Mhm.
blog.
Yeah.
And then Instagram is my focus. But
Yeah.
anything I post to Instagram is getting posted to TikTok, it's getting posted to Facebook, and it's getting posted to LinkedIn. And no,
Yeah.
even though marketing experts will tell you you want to change the wording for each platform, I literally don't. I don't have the time,
Yeah.
and I get seen. That's the important thing. I
Yeah.
want, if someone types my name in Google, I want them to see
Visibility.
all the platforms. Right?
Yeah.
See
Yeah.
them.
Yeah. Yeah. It's the
It gives an
visibility.
impression that you're
Um,
trustworthy because you're everywhere, so you know what you're doing,
yeah.
even when
Yeah.
we don't. So
Yeah. Yeah, and just even if you're not posting, just get your name, get your brand name on there. Like I know it's just like it doesn't matter if you never think you're going to ever post anything on TikTok.
get that
Log
name.
in or get whoever is next to you who has TikTok on their phone. Log in, get your brand name because you never know tomorrow where you're going to be able to expand to, and you want to have all your handles.
Which is why we say that even though the blog is repurposed from your podcast and from my video, that blog is really integral to bringing new in your business. When people
Yeah.
search, like you were sort of bowing down to the to the Google gods, but it's important, I think, to make sure,
Yeah.
because a lot of people think they can do it without their blog. And let me just tell you, Instagram can close their doors tomorrow. Probably won't happen, but it could
Probably will.
happen. And then what are you going to do? Because you don't have all those people in your email list, right? How are you going to get in
Right.
touch with them? So if you
Yeah.
can't, you'll lose your business if your whole focus is on Instagram. I think that's important
Hmm.
for us to say out there, because a lot of
Yeah.
people just have Instagram.
Awesome. Oh my God. So much good stuff.
I know, I know. All right, well, I think that's it for today. We would love, love, love for you to leave a review. This is a new podcast, and reviews are the lifeblood of it. So if you wouldn't mind leaving a review and or connecting with us on social media, and let us know what you're loving, let us know what you want to see or see more of, because we love to take that.
Yes. We want to hear your feedback.
Awesome. Okay, bye.
Bye, Jen.